The Eclipse is one of the most shocking plot twists ever made. For me, it's the best moment in any piece of media that I've seen so far. But what led to it? Why did Griffith trigger the Eclipse? If you hate him, make sure to subscribe and like, maybe even follow the Twitter. To answer the question, first we need to look at the beginning, when Griffith saw Guts for the first time. So, 4 years after the events with Gambino, Guts found himself with an opportunity to earn some cash. 7 gold coins to kill Bazuzo, the 30-man killer. Kind of a low pay for something like this, but hey, I respect the hustle. A kid against a well-known and feared knight. Sounds like a suicide mission, but Guts was able to defeat Bazuzo. The Band of the Hawk was there. Griffith saw that fight but didn't say a word. Griffith's squad saw Guts around and Corcus wanted to kill him and take the money. They come in with an attack and Guts overwhelms them easily. Griffith decides to send in Casca to finish the job. She was the second strongest, second only to Griffith, but I'm sure he knew that Casca wouldn't win. It was more like a test to see how well Guts will do, and as expected, Guts did in fact win. But right before dealing the killing blow, Griffith stops him. Without a second thought, Guts goes for the attack, but it's all for nothing since he can't even land a hit. Guts is hurt, but with his last powers he tries to attack, falling to the ground on his own. Griffith was even more impressed by the determination. Guts was unconscious for 2 days, and when he gets up, Griffith comes to have a chat. "I could never wield a sword like this," says Griffith. These two are the complete opposite of each other. That's what he found interesting. Griffith is soft-spoken, intelligent, he has charisma and it shows in both the way he fights and the way he speaks. Guts is the complete opposite. He goes in head first, risking his life non-stop. He is rude and overall scary. I love how in reality this is in reverse. Griffith, although on the outside he shines bright, in the inside he is complete evil and full of darkness. Guts at the moment is just someone with a lot of trauma, but later on he becomes the light in the inside while still looking scary on the outside. Griffith can see the outside of this though. That's what he found interesting. He took a liking in Guts and he wants him. We know how Griffith wants to control everything. He wants to have it all. His dream is to have a kingdom. The whole Band of the Hawk is just a piece for him to realize his dream. Guts will be just a strong pawn for that dream. He comes with a proposal. They will have a one-on-one duel. If Guts wins, then he kills Griffith. If Griffith wins, then Guts comes under his command. The fight starts, and with it we see yet again the differences between the two. The fast and calculated attacks of Griffith against someone that fights with pure emotions and rage. We see the iconic panel of Griffith stepping on Guts' sword and winning the duel. The fight should end here, but for Guts defeat means only death. He bites the blade, surprising Griffith and putting him on the ground as he starts punching. Of course Griffith likes him even more now. It was quite effective as he says it himself. He was able to get some punches but he is still overwhelmed and Guts loses the fight. Griffith won. Now, you belong to me. You are a part of the Hawks. I like how Berserk can say so much with no dialogue. Sure, we got the dialogue here, but there is so much more. Look at Griffith's eyes. He got what he wanted. He didn't just get another pawn, he got something special, the key to his goal. Griffith knew from the start how important Guts will be in the band, and now he got him. The band goes on a mission. They plan on doing a sneak attack, but they will need someone to lure the enemy, keeping them busy and protecting the escape for them. It's a mission with a high risk of death. You can call it a suicide mission to be honest, but Guts will be the one to do it. This isn't a test by Griffith, he just knows that Guts can do it. He will do it. It's the most important part of the mission. That's how much trust Griffith has on him already. They sneak behind on the river, setting up a fire and burning the supplies and stuff. Guts lures them. They go back waiting for him. As good as Guts is, even he couldn't keep them forever. Right as he was about to die, Griffith comes and saves him, both risking their lives and barely making it out alive. That's how important Guts is, Griffith almost dying for him. They celebrate, drinking and shit, having a party. They convince Guts to come in as well, since he is the star of this party after all, and he starts to bond with the band. Next day, Judo comes to have a chat with Guts. He is still not sure on what he wants to do, if his place is in the Band of the Hawk. He does say that this feels different than the average mercenary band. They are all made of savages and people with shady pasts, and well, the Band of the Hawk is no different. But what sets them apart is Griffith. Everyone here looks up to him. Guts asks Judo what he thinks of Griffith, but he can't really tell. Just when you think it looks like he got some strange wisdom, he seems just like a child. Just when you think he has a spine-chilling look on his face, he smiles innocently like a baby. He doesn't know if he's a child or an adult, a bad guy or a good guy, but one thing is clear, he is special. Judo sees himself as an average guy. He is there to see the great things that Griffith will do since he can't understand him. It's not just his swordsmanship, everything about him is special and out of his understanding. Guts was called by Griffith and when he arrives he sees him butt-ass naked. Maybe this is what it's all about. Griffith isn't a bad guy, he didn't use Guts, maybe he's just gay. Yeah, anyway. They play with water a bit, you know, getting closer and shit. We see the Behelit on Griffith for the first time. Guts asks why did he come back to save him, and Griffith responds that he can't let someone strong get killed like that. We also hear Griffith's goal for the first time. I will get my own kingdom. You will fight for my cause, and I will decide the place where you die. Damn bro, really is demanding. Guts can't even believe it at first, it sounds insane. Berserk is a world ruled by royalty. If you are a commoner, you can't get something like that, even if you are great. He isn't even a knight, he is the lowest of the low, just a leader of a mercenary band. But deep down, Guts feels that Griffith might actually do it, and he questions what did he do all this time. He was just a mercenary going from battle to battle. Yet Griffith, someone of the same age, has a big goal. It has been 3 years since Guts joined the Band of the Hawk. Midland is at war and the band comes in clutch and wins the fight. For this and everything that Griffith did, he gets promoted to the Viscount rank. He went from a commoner to a high rank, and the royal blood doesn't like it, obviously. Also, Guts is a commander. Alright, it's time to meet the goat himself, Nosferatu Zodd. Guts was on a mission or something. 50 soldiers went in a building and none came out. Guts thinks that it's absurd to be held back by one man alone. He goes in and sees corpses torn apart. Men in full armor torn into pieces. He comes face to face with Zodd. He is able to block some attacks from him for a bit, something that hasn't happened in the last 50 years. Guts even injures him. No human was able to give Zodd such a deep wound. He transforms and bodies our boy Guts. But Griffith comes with a squad and saves him. He tells everyone to fall back and it becomes a 2v1. Griffith being able to cut Zodd's arm off, of course it's for nothing, since they don't stand a chance against Zodd. He goes to finish Griffith off, but he sees the Behelit. Shocked, he laughs. We get a foreshadowing at the climax of this arc and the reason I'm making this video. When his ambition collapses, death will pay you a visit, a death you can never escape. Both Griffith and Guts are hurt. We see official bishops come to Griffith. It's obviously just for them to get well with him for their own benefit. Rickard mentions how he feels that Griffith is a bit more distant, harder to approach. Of course, for Griffith the only thing that matters is the goal to obtain a kingdom. The only way is to be accepted by the royalty, to get well with them and do stuff. So that's more important than the band. Okay, I know it looks like Griffith has no humanity, but I don't think that's the case yet. I will talk about this later on. Guts and Griffith have a talk. They mention how Zodd is proof that there is something above human understanding. Gods. Don't you mean devils? Guts says. Aren't they the same thing? That's Griffith's response. Berserk is a world filled with evil. The perception of God is that of something good, that of salvation. But in Berserk, a god is just a strong being. Good or bad, it's the same thing. It's a god. God says that he put his life on the line for him, for one soldier. Even though he is strong, it's still something that someone as calm and composed as him will normally not do. But this hints that Griffith isn't the calm dude that we know when it comes to Guts. He is too important for him to lose. So much so that if Guts dies or leaves, Griffith won't be able to fulfill his dream. He is different when it comes to Guts because he is the only one that truly matters in the Band of the Hawk. Everyone is replaceable to Griffith except Guts. And I do think that he thinks of Guts as a friend at least a bit. Clearly way more than the rest of the band. The king comes to check in on Griffith. He is accompanied by his musty-ass brother, Julius. I hate this guy, bro. He is the general of the White Dragons and second in succession to the throne. He has that idiotic mentality of royalty. He can't stand Griffith since he is a commoner. But the king is different. An army doesn't need prestige, it needs good results, in which Griffith provides. We come across Charlotte, the king's daughter. She stumbles and almost falls, but Griffith catches her. He low-key spit in game to her, but that's the goal, to raise her up. Julius slaps him because he put his hands on her, but he smiles cause he got to take it in. Some girls glaze over Griffith and Julius gets mad. Another musty ass pops up. This egg-shaped guy is Minister Foss. There is an important annual event, a hunt in which the White Dragon Knights guard the princess and king. This year, the king decides to leave this prestigious task to the Band of the Hawk. And, of course, Julius snaps. How can a band of robbers take the spot of the most important army in Midland? At this rate, Griffith might become a general, being on the same level as Julius, something he cannot accept. This egg-shaped guy looks mad shady, and he gives Julius the idea to assassinate Griffith with a poison arrow at the event. Guts is still confused as he doesn't know what he truly wants to do, but for now, he will wield his sword for Griffith. The hunt starts, Griff again with the princess, spitting more and more game at her. Julius creates an opportunity and strikes Griffith with the poison arrow. One scratch is enough to kill, but it didn't pierce through. He was saved by the Bakelite. Now, it's a good time to mention something. Griffith was chosen. He was meant to get to the Eclipse. He was meant to become great, but he still has free will. The actions he takes, the decisions are all his. But he is simply not meant to die here. Griffith gives an intense stare to Julius as he gets worried and overthinks. Does he know that I planned this? He thinks about the look he gave him when they first met, how it felt like he looked down on him. Guts comes to Griffith's room as he studies. To become great, he needs more than just skill, he needs knowledge. Remember how Judo mentions how Griffith can be scary and then turn into a baby? This is the same here, but in reverse. He talks about some freaky ass book, I can't even show it, and he looks just like an excited child. But then, the conversation shifts and he asks Guts to kill someone for him. The target is Julius, of course. He was able to make sure that he was the one responsible for the assassination, again showing just how smart Griffith is. Guts carries with the mission. He doesn't do a perfect job though. He kills Julius, but someone comes in, the son of Julius, and he kills him too. Right before the assassination, Guts saw the kid training and he reminded him of the date with Gambino, so Guts was disturbed by the fact that he killed the kid. But he had no other choice. Griffith is at a dinner party hosted by Charlotte. He goes there to report. This next chapter is one of the most important ones for Griffith's character in the Golden Age arc. He is alone with Charlotte. I think you know how it is by now. He spits more and more game. Guts wants to talk, but Casca stops him, so they just stay there waiting for the conversation to finish. The princess asks why men enjoy war so much. Griffith closes his eyes and says that war is a tool for men to protect something precious. But there is more to that. A man must come across a different precious thing at first. Griffith opens his eyes and the mask he had on breaks for the first time. The first important thing is something for himself, a dream. Again, the expression says a lot. When he talked about protecting something precious, he had his eyes closed. The mask was on. But now, he speaks from his heart for the first time and his face shows that. Doing it for a dream. Everyone has a dream, whether it suits them or not. Sustained by a dream. Hurt by a dream, revived by a dream, killed by a dream. A man needs to envision such a lifetime once, to die for the god named dream. Griffith sees his goal as a god. It's the ultimate thing to his life, to be born and live for no better reason. I can't abide such a lifestyle. The Band of the Hawk exists for Griffith's dream. He thinks that a man can't live like that. Yeah, the others have their own dreams outside of what Griffith wants. But their dreams are not one to die for. The god called dream is the one you die for. He mentions how this conversation must be boring for a princess. He wants to be perfect for Charlotte. She doesn't like war, and Griffith knows, but the mask slipped for that moment. That's why he yapped about this. He didn't realize that he said too much. He truly speaks from his heart. Luckily, Charlotte liked the conversation. Going back to what Judo said. Even she mentions how at the hunt he was so carefree and like a child playing, and now he sounds almighty speaking about something so great. They talk about the Band of the Hawk and it shows that Griffith looks down on them. They are just his tools for his desires. That's because they don't have their own big dream. They depend on someone else's dream. But to Griffith, a friend is the one that goes for his own desires. Someone that will even oppose him. What I think a friend is one who is my equal. Guts and Casca were there and they heard the conversation. Griffith obviously didn't saw them. This will make Guts think more about what he wants to do, as he wasn't sure if he truly wants to follow Griffith's dream. The conversation stops as the news broke that Julius was assassinated, and Griffith gives off one of his best looks so far. Griffith has a discussion with Minister Foss. They talk about the assassinations. Egghead here wanted to see Griffith's reactions as he is sure that he is the one that killed Julius. He turns back and he sees Griffith with another insane look. Man, I love the intense stares. It shows how fast he switches between his fake angel-like persona and his real self. The next few chapters are important for Guts and Casca, but this video is about Griffith. If you like the video, I'll make one looking into Casca and Guts dynamic since it's amazingly done. We do have some things that I need to mention in here though. We get Casca's backstory and we know how she met Griffith and why she's in love with him. She was saved by him and he gave her a purpose. There was a nameless 10-year-old who died on the battlefield. Only Griffith remembered him. He had a night toy, so he must have admired them. He looked at Griffith as if he was some kind of hero. For the first time, Griffith wonders if his dream killed the boy. The incident with this kid is the most human we get out of Griffith. For the first time, he thinks about the people that die for his dream. For the first time, he is truly affected by it. Casca says that he became different after this. He is with a weird rich dude, like bro an actual freak. He on that EDP timing. Casca can't believe it. Next day, they are at the river. Griffith cleans himself and he asks Casca if he is dirty for what he did. When he saved Casca, she was about to be raped by a guy, so the fact that Griffith did it with someone that does the same fucked up shit, she was in disbelief. It was all for money, common interest. That weirdo liked Griffith and Griffith wanted the money. An army needs so much money just for existing. They were at the early stages of the band. Broja said 20 is 20 basically. Casca asked if it's because of the boy. Griffith denies it. He thought about it logically. Going to battle and losing hundreds of soldiers or seduce one old man, which is less risky. He doesn't feel responsible for the lives lost under his command. They chose to fight. They chose to join Griffith and fight for his dream. He is lying though. He does feel remorse here. He has an inner conflict. I'll repay them by reaching my dream. But my dream can only be achieved by building corpses. It's a dream filled with blood. He grabs himself so hard that he gets injured. He was deep in thought, fighting his own mind. He turns to Casca and he becomes the good old Griffith that she knew all along. Casca says that the burden he carries is gigantic. That's how it should be for a leader with his dream. He needs to carry their debts. But Griffith, in that moment, that's the most human he is. But he tries to get rid of that humanity. He said that if he reaches his goal, then he will repay everyone that died for him as a way to justify everything and not think about it. It's okay if they die for me as long as I reach my dream. And in that moment, Griffith was ready to sacrifice everyone for his dream. The day the Band of the Hawk became pawns and nothing more. Next chapters are for Guts and Casca. Their relation gets better as Guts saved her and he killed 100 men by himself. He got the title of 100 men killer. He is mad hurt and he talks with Casca up on a hill looking at the camp. Every light is like a dream in the inferno called Griffith. They all have a dream, but they are small compared to Griffith's. One wants to open a shop, another wants to marry a girl, but these are just in the inferno. Guts finally figured it out. This isn't for him. He can't live for someone's dream. With this, Guts becomes an equal to Griffith, standing for his own dream. The biggest battle happens, taking down the Purple Rhino Knights. This was by far their hardest fight. Even Guts would have died if not for Zodd's help by throwing a sword. This was the last battle that Guts had under the Band of the Hawk. Minister Foss plans to take down Griffith again. Even the Queen, as revenge for Julius' death. She is married to the king but only for political reasons. She had an affair with Julius, the king's brother, but since they know that Griffith is the one that killed him, she plans to take revenge by poisoning him again. Egghead receives a letter and he gets scared. The party starts. The Band of the Hawk gets promoted to the white title. They stand equal to the biggest army in Midland. Crazy how they went from a band of mercenaries to the biggest title an army can get, and Guts is the ace of that. I have to mention this panel. After they get promoted, Guts and Griffith smile at each other. For now, it's just a sweet moment between the two, but with everything that happens, this panel with no dialogue holds so much emotion. One of my favorite moments in the series, to be honest. Griffith takes a sip out of the poisonous drink. He falls and everyone starts screaming. Minister Foss leaves and locks the Queen and the others in a room. Guts kills the others that took part in the assassination. The room gets on fire and the Queen sees Griffith just standing there. He planned everything. He anticipated this attack from the start. The letter that Foss received was from Griffith, and he had no other choice but to cooperate with him. Fast forward a month, Guts is ready to leave without telling anyone. Casca sees it. Judo and Corcus take him to have a talk. Casca thinks that maybe Griffith can change up his mind, so she goes to look for him. They don't understand why Guts will leave right when they finally made it. Guts says that all his life he wanted someone to look at him, but that didn't help with survival. He met Griffith and he again wanted to be noticed. He wanted to be an equal to him. I've had enough looking up at him. From inside his dream, I want to stand beside him by attaining something of my own. He is the only one I can't stand looking down on me. Since the conversation with the princess, Guts knew that he wasn't an equal to Griffith unless he breaks from his dream. If Guts stays here, no matter how great he is, in Griffith's eyes he will be inferior. He will never stand side to side with him. He continues the conversation with Judo as they walk. Already morning, he comes across the important faces of the band. Griffith asks Guts if he is really leaving and he says yes. Griffith is in shock. He lost his composure. Even Judo noticed that. He pulls his sword out, desperate. You belong to me. I won you with this sword. Your fight and your death, I hold both. Yet again, Griffith looks at Guts as his inferior, as his pawn, not a friend, not an equal. Guts is the biggest reason that Griffith reached this far, yet he is still a pawn that he wants to control. He can't accept it. If others die or live, then so be it. But he can't accept Guts leaving because he values him. He values him the most as his weapon, not as a friend. They stare at each other. Griffith analyzes Guts' face. He notices just how much he wants to leave his grasp. He can't have it. For the first time, we see Griffith unsure of himself. Can he even stop him? These past 3 years, Guts has become insanely strong. Even a drop of sweat is on his face. The man who always stood tall against armies, now uncertain about one single enemy. The only way for Griffith to win is to finish it off in one strike. He thinks, I can deflect and hit his shoulder. He needs to be perfect and is the only way he can beat him. But then he thinks more. If the pressure alters his position even a little, he will kill him. But if I can't have him, I don't care. It has gotten to that point. Griffith just can't accept Guts leaving. If he kills him, then so be it. But he can't accept his departure on his own will. They clash swords. Guts breaks Griffith's sword. He stops right before hitting his shoulder. Griffith lost. He is in complete shock, on his knees. For the first time, Griffith is down. Everything was under his control. Against all odds, yet he pulled it out without a sweat. But now, against the person he could never afford to lose, he lost. Guts leaves, without even looking back as Griffith remains on his knees. Skull Knight appears in front of Guts for the first time and he tells him that in 1 year the eclipse will happen. Griffith sneaks into Charlotte's room and he makes out with her, finishing the game he's been building up all this time. They go at it, and as they fuck, Griffith starts thinking of Guts. Kinda crazy, bro, in the middle of it. Yeah, this man is not beating the bisexual allegations. A maid saw them and she informs the guards. Griffith later comes down and he gets captured. Him going there was a big risk. If Griffith was in his right mind, this wouldn't have happened, but since Guts left, he isn't himself. He can't think logically and he can't make the right decisions. He gets tortured by the king. Griffith reveals that the king wanted his own daughter. That's why there was no political marriage done already. And yes, the king goes to Charlotte and that's all I'm gonna say. Man, why is almost everyone a creep in this series? Like, fuck bro. I used to like the king since he was different from the other royals. He knew that blood didn't matter, results mattered. That's why Griffith, a commoner, was put in such a high place. And now look at him. Sad, not gonna lie. But anyway, Griffith will be tortured for a year. The Hawk has fallen. The band of the Hawk gets tricked by the king to come for training just to be executed. Casca takes lead and saves them. 1 year later, Griffith is still tortured. The band lives in a forest, hiding, barely surviving. Guts hears about the situation they're in and he comes to them. They plan to save Griffith. We skip some important chapters for the band and especially for Guts and Casca. Peak romance though. Griffith's backstory. He wasn't just a commoner, he really came from the trenches, the lowest of the low. The place where the sun doesn't shine. There was one thing that shined brighter than everything. The castle, far away, and he made up his mind. The small victories they achieved while playing with wooden swords. The junk they owned, old and broken toys. Griffith saw the castle, and from that day he decided that the junk he wants is that thing, the castle. But now, 1 year in complete darkness, the only thing that kept his sanity was Guts. In his eyes, he is the one that destroyed him. Yet, he is also the one that keeps him alive here. Griffith knows that he was special. It was simple. He was either admired and he took control of them, or he was envied by people and he eliminated them if needed. Guts was different though. He didn't try to stop him, but he wasn't under his control either. In reality, Griffith was under the control of Guts. So many soldiers that he met, yet he was the only one that had an effect on him, on his mind. Monsters come in to meet their prince as the eclipse is soon to start. After some time, the group arrives at the depth of the tower to save Griffith. He is unrecognizable. Guts comes and holds him. Everyone is shocked and sad seeing someone so great in such a bad state. But Griffith was full of hatred when he saw Guts. He wanted to choke him, but he is so weak that they can't even realize it. He can't have it, the fact that he is so powerless in front of the people that were once under his command. His tongue was cut off. The torturer used everything possible. Guts kills him and they make their way up the tower. They went against Bakiraka assassins, the Midland army, now even against the most barbaric group we've seen so far in the series. All of this for Griffith. They know deep down that he won't be able to be a leader again, to chase the dream. Nobody wants to accept it, but he is simply too injured to come back. Yet they still save him because of the respect they all have for him. As Guts fights the leader of the Black Dog Knights, he is reminded of Skull Knight's words, Zodd's words about it as well. The eclipse that will happen in 1 year, once Griffith's dream crumbles, a death he can never escape. Guts thinks that maybe this guy is what they've been talking about, but this isn't even close to what they're about to experience. Soon, the eclipse will start. Griffith is looking at the fight as he notices a sword. He tries to pick it up and we're shown again just how over it is for bro. He can't even pick up a sword. He knows it's all over deep down. Guts fights the Apostle wild, the closest fight we've ever had. Both Guts and Casca were almost killed and Griffith had a reaction. Guts of course had a hold of him from the start, but with Casca it was new. Sure, she was important, but still he could do without her, the old Griffith at least. Now, since he can't be what he was, he thinks more of Casca. Maybe a normal life with her. He does seem a bit jealous after the battle with Casca taking care of the wounds. It shows that they've gotten way closer. Wild is alive and he picks Griffith up, desperate, trying to make him trigger the Eclipse, but he doesn't have the Behelit. He also mentions free will. They all have free will. Griffith, was he destined to become a god? I think what was predetermined was him reaching the Eclipse. That's why he was saved by the Behelit from the poisonous arrow, but what will happen there will be his free will. I'll touch about this more once we get there. Zodd kills Wild. He is dragged into the vortex for all eternity, and all it remains of him is an old man. Every apostle was a human before, and that old man was Wild before he made his sacrifice.
Stay away. Stay away. Yes. Of the thousands of comrades and the tens of thousands of enemies, you're the only one who made me forget my dream. I sacrifice.
And the fifth angel has been born.
As the Band of the Hawk accepts the reality and thinks of what to do next individually, Griffith starts to see his old self, him as a kid, the dream he chased all his life, the most important thing to him. He follows the kid running for the castle, but he falls, a reminder to him that the dream is over. So, now what? He gets another vision, him living a simple life with Casca, the only option in this state. Maybe it isn't so bad. He sees the Behelit in the vision and he wakes up, going insane, living a simple life with Casca, but if he can't have a kingdom, then it's all for nothing. He plans on killing himself. But the Behelit appears in real life too. As Guts comes to him, the Behelit starts opening its eyes. Stay away, Griffith tries to scream, and the eclipse finally starts. A mountain of faces starts building up, the ground made of faces, of apostles. The four gods appear. The predetermined has happened. We've reached the eclipse. Void mentions causality. Causality is the cause and effect. In Berserk, it's the events that happened because of fate, but everything that happens in that flow is made by humans, and no choice that a human makes is certain. For every choice they make, there will be an effect. The God Hand can manipulate the flow of causality to guide someone to their desired outcome, but at the end of it, the choice still lies within the person. They can't predict what happens 100% because there is still free will. Griffith reached where he needed to, but what he will do is his choice alone, his free will. Sure, the God Hand manipulates Griffith. He is shown a reflection of his mind, him as a kid going for the castle, but the road turns into a pile of corpses. He is scared and screams, but this is the only path to the castle, to his dream. The dead comrades comes to him, still devoted to him, but they are dead. Him walking on corpses, he was simply shown what he knew all along inside of him, that people die for his dream. The kingdom is the only important thing, and in his state there is no way to reach it unless he makes the sacrifice. After all, if he does make it, then it's the same thing. His people dying for his dream. Whether they die in a battle or in this sacrifice, for Griffith it's the same. It's just the path to the kingdom that he desires. I sacrifice. Griffith made his choice, manipulated by the God Hand, sure, but it was still his choice. All they did was to show in his face what he really is. He accepted his true self and made the choice to sacrifice all his friends that came to save him, all for his dream. That's how Griffith was from the start. The Lost Chapter. A chapter that had too much information, so it didn't end up in the physical copies, I believe. Griffith is sinking and he meets the idea of evil, God itself. created by humans, every negative emotion, that's what it is. This is what predetermined Griffith to reach the Eclipse, to be chosen. Griffith says, God, what do you want from me? Be as you will. The god wanted Griffith to have free will. I want wings. That's Griffith's answer. His choice. His free will. And so, the fifth blessed king, the demon king, the wings of darkness, Femto, is born. While the birth was happening, the band of the Hawk struggles to survive. The worst fate, dying without understanding why. Did Griffith do it? What is this? Confused and scared. Judo, Pippin, Corcus, and everyone died. The group that we saw for so many chapters, we saw so many sides of them. A journey. Now we have to witness their demise in the worst way possible. Guts gets held by a monster and Griffith, now Femto, comes with Casca and, as we know, he rapes her. Right in front of Guts. As he struggles and struggles, his arm rips apart, but still for nothing. Now, why did Griffith do it? I think it was a form of revenge because he left. In his eyes, Guts leaving is what caused his downfall, not himself and his mistake with the princess. And he also cursed the child in Casca to be reborn. Skull Knight saves Casca and Guts. Rickert was outside, the only members left from the Band of the Hawk, going against fate itself. As Casca is left with a broken mind and Guts is on a journey full of hatred for revenge. This was Griffith in the Golden Age arc. Berserk is my favorite series and this arc is the best one in my opinion. Griffith is also my favorite character, so I hope I did him justice. It's such a complex series, I probably missed some things. If you think I got something wrong, leave a comment. If you've reached this far, I'd appreciate you leaving a like and a subscribe. Also follow the Twitter and I'll see you on the next one.